Hello everybody, and welcome back to Rage Against the Dice. And this is Paint with Nate, and I'm Nate, and this is Paint. Um, Today I'm going to start my guide on Paint the White Dragon, and which is a new model out from the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures range by WizKids for Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a dragon, therefore I love it. And I'm going to be giving some of the new pseudo contrast paints a spin. Um, I know the internet's got a lot of different opinions on this, and I'm going to be giving it a spin myself. So, being that it's a white dragon, I thought, and I have seen some good results with this stuff, I'm going to give this a go. And we'll learn together whether it needs or not. Right, first tip with this stuff, you need to shake it. It needs to shake it until you can see no sediment in the bottom, because it does tend to separate out. So I've already given this a good shake, but I'm giving it another good shake. So there we go. Pop the lid. All looks nice and smooth there. And right, we're ready to go. So a nice big brush for this, size 2. And let's go. So instantly you'll notice that this contrast paint, it's like a really thick wash, more than a paint. Oh, I should have mentioned, what I've done is I've masked up the flying base, because the entire model is getting a coat of white paint, because pretty much an entire white dragon is white. It's right down the name. So it would be a bit tricky to paint this and not kind of start rubbing the paint off my fingers and things. So I've masked up the base because I want to keep that base clear, so it looks like a classic flying base. Yeah, so that's what I did. It's just masking tape. Sorry, it's not very interesting. No, it's really this paint technique. It's as the advert says, one thick coat, and on it goes. And yeah, I'm loving this. We'll see when it's dry whether I feel like it'll need a highlight or not. But like I said, this is barring one quick attempt on a beholder's eye, which obviously is not a huge amount. I've not given the white a spin. So I'm learning alongside you guys. But looking at that, it's I'm liking it. I'm digging this. Yeah, this is looking good so far, because the white's shining through quite nicely. But it's giving me quite a nice texture to that. I should say I've seen results that people have been trying, because obviously there's a lot of videos and there's a lot of blogs and whatnot talking about this contrast paint. And one consensus seems to be it's not great on big flat surfaces, but these models have a lot of lovely texture. You know, there's a lot of texture to these wings, so it's all sitting in there rather nicely. And I've just looked, and sorry about the video, but all you could see was my hand there. So yeah, I haven't picked up any particular techniques for this stuff yet, besides just kind of lashing on a bit like a wash. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. Put a lot on, spread it about. I don't think, judging by this, that you need to be using a particularly good brush. I might be wrong, but first impressions, I may be overgunned here with my my Windsor and Newton, but try to have and not need. So just this behaves a lot like a wash. You can see how it's pooling there a bit too much. That, just, oh well. It's character. That's what that is. It is character. It's like when you find a mold line on a face, you paint it up as a scar. Because you meant that the whole time. Right. Right, so there we have it. There's a wing done. And yep, that looks pretty awesome. I think you may have to take my word on that because it's kind of hard to tell on the video with the lighting. But I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna paint up the rest and come back to you when it's all dry, and we'll see where we need. As you can see, I've done all of the white over the entire model, and I think you can agree that just the apothecary white on its own looks kind of amazing. So I've spoken to Kev about it, and he agrees that looks pretty awesome on its own, so I'm gonna leave that there. But it was one of those where I was almost I wasn't sure in my own decision, but so got a second opinion, and Kev agrees that yeah, we're happy with that. So I'll come back to the dragon, but for now I'm gonna do the base. So I'll take it off. I've taken the masking tape off, which I should have left on, but well, I didn't. And now I'm gonna try black on the base. So the white dragon lives in snowy climates, so of course I'm applying black to the base. Why, you ask? Well, all I want is something that's going to contrast nicely with snow, because I'm going to put some snow flock on top. So once again, we're putting it. This stuff behaves just like the wash 2. Now this is completely the Vallejo base. There's no repriming or anything. Because I should have said, or I may have said, that I reprimed slightly. I did a very light coat of plastic coat spray over the dragon after cleaning up any mold lines. So this is straight out the box primed, because there's no mold lines on the base. So basically I'm giving this whole thing a wash of the contrast black then I'm gonna might put a bit of blue in it, bit of blue highlight. We'll see what it looks like when it's dry, and then it'll be a snow flock over the top on the raised surfaces, so you get a nice contrast, but not contrast paint this time, actual contrast, because it's a technique I use quite a bit. I'm doing winter bases, kind of a cold slate effect with snow on top. You get it just looks nice. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. It just looks good. Very wintry feel, so I'm going with that. Yeah. One thing I haven't learned about contrast, and this is my word of warning for today, because you tend to be using a big brush, you can miss bits. But unlike washes, which sometimes you have to be very careful when you go back, because you get a dark spot where you double wash, then the contrast, as long as you go steady with it, you can go and touch up, and the touch up's invisible. You can't see where you've touched up and what's not original coat. So though I would recommend trying to get all in one coat while it's still wet, it's not the end of the world if you miss a bit. But as always, if you do it, if you take your time the first time, you don't have to do it a second time. So here we go, we're almost done here. And I'll show you in a second, but it's because mainly you're listening to me and watching my hand, but unfortunately due to the shape of the base, there's nothing I can do about that except learn to be left-handed. And I'm not ready for that yet. Right. So that looks, let's just make sure I've got all these edges done. Gotta watch out for pooling as well, just same as a wash. But yeah. So far, so good. Right, so there we go. There we go, there's that all washed. It's a bit glossy at the moment. I'll put that down to, so yeah, it's a bit glossy at the moment. But you can see there that the it's primarily gone a grey color, but with some black, black in the recesses. A lot of it will be covered in snowflock anyway, so shouldn't be a big issue. And here again, I've got my base dry. As you can see, that's come out rather nice. It's not finished, but it is for now, because I want to move on to a bit of the wing membranes. Now, if I produce a book, I've got one of my Dungeons and Dragons books here, and it's a book on dragons, and one of the things it has, that's Silver Dragon, is here, shows, see, it comments on pink or blue blush on a long trailing edge, right? And I've seen this on a couple of bits of artwork, and I think it looks really nice, and I think, yeah, that white looks great, but it is very samey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some purple ink. Just a little bit there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some medium. I'm going to thin it down. I'm going to thin it down quite a bit. We'll get a good brush full of that. I'll thin that right down. Right. So that's now. Sorry about the noise if you can hear that. Just next door is cutting tiles. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just tickle this on the edge here. Just enough. Not going crazy. Just want a little bit of a tone shift. A little bit more. Just trying to, you're doing this, follow the shape of the wing. So you've got some creases there, I'm trying to follow that, just so it doesn't look like it's kind of a stripe. Yeah, so just a little bit there. This will be our first step. Make sure I get it right in there. Yeah, really sorry about next door, but hey ho, we've all got our lives to live. What I'm doing is I'm brushing. Then keep the brush strokes mainly in the same line. Obviously, I'm shaping it a bit, but I'm going back because I want to kind of raggy, keep the edges a bit raggy. Don't want to look too uniform. Just want to, again, what you're trying to avoid with anything like this is getting that, make it look like it's got a stripe. Because, well, it looks a bit rubbish, really. Right, so I'll just do these other membranes here. So a little bit of edging here. Right. So, same again. Beauty is with a wash this thin. If you cock up like that, oh, you can see that. I just made a complete screw up of a bit. I just wiped it off with my thumb. So that's a good thing this isn't radio. I haven't really got a lot to say about this. It's kind of just put the color on. Try to keep it from looking too regular. Right, so the reason I use medium when I'm thinning that down rather than water is if you use water kind of with it, like, you know, the self-cohesive property of the water, it tends to pool and you'll get dark spots, and you don't really want that. You want to keep it quite even. You only want it to gather in the creases, same as you would a normal wash. So that's why I try to always use a medium, even for washes. It's just better. Get that there. Right. So there's the job half done. Just these wing edges are all done because I don't want white spots on my edges. Right. Almost there. Right. And the handy thing with this is it just catches the end. You can get a second coat on the end. Darkens that edge for you a little bit so you get a bit of a gradient. Right. So we're almost there now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tiny bit more ink and a lot more medium this time. So it's practically transparent, which I hope you can see there. And now I'll go back, just blend these edges. Actually, I want it a little bit more transparent than even that. That's still a bit too opaque. There we go. I just want the tint. Wrong brush. Right. There we go. I just want to tint it. Okay, nice gradient. So the medium as well is moistening what I've painted on before slightly and just thinning it out a bit. So it's giving me a nicer gradient on that. So done that one. Right. Almost there. Oh, sorry. Very, very bad camera painter today. I blame the cameraman. That would be my tripod. But I can still blame it, right? Just have enough to finish here. Right, there we go. Alright, so we've got a nice tint on that now, and a bit of color to our give it a coat Black Templar, and it looks a little bit patchy. So, because it looks like contrast paints are great when you've got a lot of texture, but if you got quite flat surfaces, not the best. So I gave a second coat, which is pretty much just brought out, well, black, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with my old slate recipe, which is I use shadow grey. You can get this paint now from Coat d'Arms. It's called Shadow Grey. So all I'm going to do is I've got myself a flat dry brush. I get a bit, not a huge amount. Make sure you've got most of it off. Yeah, like, so you're going for quite a light dry brush. I'm just trying to pick out the edges. And the shadow grey is great because it gives you, over the black, gives you a nice slate effect, which looks wonderful when you put the snow flock over the top, because you've got a nice cold stone followed by like the white, so everything just gives a nice cold feel to it, which is perfect when you talking about this sort of a winter dragon. Great. So, not the most sophisticated technique in the world, but make sure I get all the bits, because I don't know how much flocking I'm going to do. So pretty good. So now I'm just going to use a tiny bit of Horse Tone Grey by Coat d'Arms. I'm not going to clean my brush. Just I put tiniest little dab on there. And just pick out the edges. So very light, because I want that blue to show through. And there we are. That'll do nicely. So as he says that'll do nicely, he goes back and does a bit more. But just want to crisp that edge up. There we go. Yep. I'm happy with that. Alright. So that's the base done. Except for the snowflock. I'll keep going with the white dragon here, which is now our focus. There we go. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to move on to the mouth and do that. The astute viewers will notice I have done the talons and I've not done that on screen. Reason for that is because there's nothing new to show you. If you go back to part 8 of my European soldiers for Blood and Plunder tutorial, that's the technique I use there. I use my matte black scheme there, so it's the exact same scheme, so there's nothing new to show you. So Kev will put a link in the description below. So I'm going to move on to the mouth. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a fleshy color, in this case dwarf flesh. You can get this from Coat d'Arms called dwarf flesh, but I haven't quite used all my old Citadel one, so I'm still working my way through that. Now, this may seem a strange color to start with, but you'll see where I'm going with this. So I'm gonna start just basically get all the inside of the mouth, the roof of the mouth done. Doesn't matter if I get on the tongue, because when we move on to the tongue next, so it's actually a bit better if you do overlap slightly, rather than having some odd white bits inside the mouth. So there we go. There's the roof of the mouth done. This paint's really thin, but it's okay because it's going over white. So get in there, that jowly bit there. Now I'm really gotta be careful to not paint over the white contrast, because I don't fancy having to re-prime a bit and then go back through that whole rigmarole and make sure it all blends. So instead, I'm just taking extra care now. Right. Right, just make sure I get those last little bits and pieces. This is quite a pain because he's got a lot of teeth and quite big, so it keeps knocking my bristles out of where I want them to go. Yeah, almost there. Yeah, I'm just gonna paint the whole tongue. I'll come back to that in a minute. Right. There we go for now. I'm gonna let that dry. And I'll be back and I'm gonna do the tongue next. Yep, I'll basically come both at the same time. You'll see why. And so I'll be right for you guys. I'll be right. Welcome back, everyone. That's dry now. So now it's on to move on. Time to move on to the tongue. Right. So I'm going to use some scab red for this. Old Citadel scab red. Any kind of maroony red will do. But this just kind of good. This is gonna be a nice base for what I'm after. You'll see why in a second. So, unlike the mouth, the tongue's quite easy to paint because it stands out, and by being quite thorough and making sure you got no white spots and kind of overlapping when you do the mouth itself, when you do the gums, you can concentrate more on just making sure the tongue's nice and straight, not having to worry about any white spots. Oh. Yeah, the one I'm really overpainting his teeth, but that's fine. That's fine, I can fix that. Because his teeth will be getting proper base coating. Right, there we go. One tongue. One tongue that's almost finished, except for that huge bit in the middle I've somehow missed. Go me. Can't be the only person out there when he paints. Somehow, no matter how careful you're being, seems to miss huge swathes of bit. Right, so there we go. There's one done. So again, gonna leave that to dry and come back for the next step. And we're back for the next step, which is a little bit of purple ink. Nothing exciting here. So I'm using the same Army Painter purple tone I use for pretty much everything because it's just really versatile, it's really good. Straight out the bottle. Just give that, oops. Give that a wash all over the inside. Just let it sit where it will. Right. Oh. It's all gone a bit wrong. Right. So sorry, it's not the most exciting thing. There we go. Make sure that you get everything coated, as you can see. You get a bit too much pooling in bits, which you're painting something that's effectively kind of an inverse wedge, so it's gonna kind of drain in. Just make sure you just dab it with a clean brush, and let's get some oil on that. Yeah. So that's it for now. Next up, we'll do a quick highlight, but I've got to wait for this to dry first. Well, obviously. But so we're all done. We put some purple in there, which will help tie it in with the wings, so it's not too jarring a difference. And yeah, back soon. Okay, everybody, ink's all dry, so let's get back to it. So for the gums, especially because you can only just see them, I'm just gonna go back with my original dwarf flesh. Put it in there. Just a tiny bit. A tiny bit on the brush. A bit more control on that. I'm just gonna, where you can see the gums here, we're gonna really pick that out, because his mouth's not very visible, so I'm not going crazy. I'm just a tiny bit there. Right. Same for your tongue. First coat on the tongue is going to be, where's my tape? Is going to be my scab red. Put it on one side because I'll end up just dipping a wing into it or something. Is the most in shot, because it's helpful when you're doing a painting video so people can actually see you paint. I'm just gonna go back over that. This quick, just follow the two kind of ridges, leaving the purple middle. It's basically painting a big V on his tongue or her tongue. I'm not qualified to sex dragons, so I won't. Now I'm just gonna get a bit of scab red and a bit of my dwarf flesh. Do a quick mix. About 50-50. There you go. Just some to like that. And blend it so it actually does look, like it's all part of the same animal. Just a thinner V than before. Just on the ridge, just give the tongue a bit of shape. And that's it for that. Next up will be to tidy up the mouth by painting the teeth. And then it won't quite look in such a state. But that's the next step. Okay everyone, just a few steps left for the mouth. So save time and your attention. I've base coated the teeth already. I've used a Coat d'Arms Barbarian leather for that. From there, I'm going to get some Vallejo Dark Flesh, same as old GW bronze flesh. So I am actually using bronze flesh for this, but the dark flesh is exactly the same, but just have a little bit that's left in the pot. Take them off his base. This just I'm doing about most of the way up the tooth, letting some of the leather show through, and making sure I'm not painting the gaps in between, because it's a handy way to separate the teeth. I must really apologize for the camera work in these series of these videos, but quite honestly, it's quite a pig of a model to paint and film at the same time with the setup I've got. So thank you very much for bearing with me. I'm doing just as I'm doing everything with a few strokes, so I'm trying to get a stripy effect on the tooth, if you will. Trying to give the tooth a bit of texture. Right. So almost there. Make sure you get the backs of all the teeth. Just like when you're brushing your own teeth, make sure you get the backs. Paint these big bad boys at the front. Right. So just to make sure those look like separate teeth, I'm making sure that there's a gap. I'll show you in a second. Almost done here. Right. There we go. So see, I've left a gap. So it looks like separate teeth. Because that's all kind of just one piece of molded plastic. Right. From there, moving swiftly on, I'm going to get some bone. Where is it? Some bleached bone. Skeleton bone works just as well, because it's exactly the same color. Now this, again, paint, leave some of the fleshy color behind. You get a nice gradient. That's right. Again, same rule. Make sure you're getting behind the tooth as well. Right, almost there. Just making sure I'm getting behind those teeth. Because the pain in the backside was when you're doing monster teeth like this is, if something like a dragon with quite a long snout, you can see the teeth either side easier than you can reach them to paint. Right. So we're almost there now. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a tiny little white tip on each one, just to kind of give the illusion of sharpness. And just be white and literally just on the tips. Just dab a bit on. Yes, like that. Kind of defines where teeth end and just get an illusion of sharpness to what is actually a bit of dull plastic. And there we go. Teeth done. So, last thing we've got to do are the eyes. Now I want the eyes to look like they glow a bit. So I'm going to start with some crystal blue. Only need a tiny bit because he's only got little eyes. And I'm just going to make sure I wouldn't care. I find it easier doing little eyes than big eyes. Little eyes usually is just a straight across. Now this, I'm trying to fill a full orb in. Almost there. Right. And the other one. Right. Always worth going from eye to eye. And since his left eye is much bigger than his right, I'm just going to go back and I'm going to tighten that in a bit. So I'm using a light grey here, which I should be able to get away with. That's better. There we go. About the same size now. So now I'm going to get my crystal blue. I'm going to get a dash of white. I'm just going to put a spot in the middle of each eye. And call it done. Right, all that's left to do is a bit of snow flock on the base. For that, I'm just going to be applying some PVA glue and dipping it. But just got to paint off my finger. Put this bad boy on his base. And there you have it. White dragon, all done. Lovely model. Hey, well, last thing for me is to thank you all for joining me on this painting guide. I hope there's been some useful things. I hope you've seen kind of the limitations and what kind of the utility of the contrast paints, and give them a try. And the last thing for me is, again, thanks for watching. Pray to dice gods, may they smile upon you. and enjoy. Bye, guys.